One of the most important names, and I think one thing we always recognise, that we were really fortunate. Perhaps we felt that we were marginalised in our own profession, or not marginalised, but not treated as equals. We also saw that we were incredibly fortunate women with law degrees and opportunities before us, and justice was a really strong focus and element for us.
We were all involved in Young Lawyers, and Chris was very involved in the Law Institute, and we all worked together on those issues. And we had the conference in '93 under the auspices of Young Lawyers to look at women in the profession and so on, and had such a huge reaction. But we were still really reluctant.
Wasn't it the Chief Justice that said you should? He kept on saying you should start an association. You should start an association. It was great to have that support. And
he was pushy.
Yeah.
He was very pushy.
But he was also a male being pushy.
Yeah.
Which I think helped us to feel like we weren't necessarily being marginalised.
It was also the marginalisation was addressed in the fact that we encouraged males to become
we did
members.
Have a male
We had quite a few male members at the start. If you look at taking up the challenge in the flexible work practices particularly, we wrote those to apply to all people in law firms.
Exactly.
So we made definite decisions not to do things that would make it look like just chick stuff.
We needed to have that broader buy-in, and I think that VWL's done that really well over the last 10 years.
That we still play a really important role in relation to mentoring and coaching junior women lawyers. While it might not be ideal, I think there's a lot of junior women who have stayed in the profession because of their involvement in VWL. And also it's been able to offer them or provide them with opportunities to see what else is available in the profession as well.
I'm hoping to actually meet a lot of female barristers and other solicitors, because I did my articles a couple of years ago, and now I'm an associate at the Supreme Court, and I'm trying to work out where to take my career. So I'm hoping to speak to a number of people who've made similar decisions.
There's not a lot of voluntary women who become mentors, and I just felt this was an opportunity to meet people who had opportunities to mentor.
So how about you tell me what you think is the most important issue for women in the law today?
I think probably the most important issue is just to realise that there are still gender-based issues in pursuing a legal career.
Do you identify as a feminist?
I do. I don't see myself as a feminist as such because I just do what I do, but I'm a mother of 3 children, working in commercial litigation. I have people who speak to me and say that what I've achieved, but I don't feel it's an achievement. I just feel that this is what I wanted to do and I set out to do it, and that's exactly what I did. I wanted to have children and I wanted to have a career, and so I've managed to combine the two.
Stats show that in terms of fertility, women who have children, professional women have the lowest rate, and women lawyers the lowest rate of that. In fact, female lawyers are the least likely group in Australia to actually have children. Some may say that's not such a bad thing. It's a really interesting decision, I think, that some people are making, because I think we're also seeing women self-select to stay in law who choose not to have children. How many women partners actually either don't have children or deferred having children until they became partners? And sometimes that deferral leads to it being too late. So I think some of the advancement of women is actually due to the fact of not having family.
I had Ian when I was convener.
I had Alex just before I became convener, and that was the year that I said I was going to drop out because he had haemophilia, and I said I'm not going to, I can't cope, I can't work, be convener, give it everything, knowing what it took, and do it. And the 3 of you said there's no way we're going to let that happen, we'll make it work. You take on the convener role, and when you're in hospital and whatever's happening, we'll share that, we'll make it work. And I think that we've shown all the way that if you're committed to it,
you can make it work.
You can make anything work.
I've got a team of 15, and I've had 4 women on maternity leave at the same time, and which, you know, when you put your management hat on as opposed to your sort of advocate hat on, you sort of, it's like, wow. But again, when you do the numbers, the investment I'd already made in them by having them on board for 2 or 3 years, and their knowledge of the business and everything, I can't afford to let them go. I need to be flexible and keep them. And, you know, it is tough from a management point of view, but it's all about what's the most efficient thing for the business. And it is not efficient for a business to let go of really well-trained people.
In terms of having maternity leave, I think being in the public sector was really great for me. I worked for, a federal government regulator, and, that was great. And if I had been in private practice, I really don't think I could have stayed.
What do you think is the most important issue facing women in the law?
It seems like an obvious point, but I think if the culture can be changed within law firms, basically the number of partners can be increased. That would be a great achievement.
You find that more women come back from maternity leave than people come back from secondment. So you're better off. And what it's demonstrating is that there is a very high level of loyalty in women lawyers who are treated and regarded well by their firm. If their firm, and I'm an example of that, says, okay, we're prepared to be flexible with you, then it generates incredible loyalty and commitment. Why can't senior employees actually have a stake in the firm, whether it's through a share structure? Because you're never going to have everyone becoming partners. That's just not physically possible.
Exactly.
So what are the alternatives to actually reward these people for their commitment?
Remember when we had that flexible work practices and we were taking it out and we had the managing partners of law firms, particularly our sponsor law firms,
The largest
come along,
law firms.
all the largest law firms would come to a lunch and we would present why they should take on flexible work practices. And one of our major sponsors put their hand up and said, we already have flexible work practices. You're available to us 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. It was the first time there was a real correlation between the bottom line, finances, and treating women lawyers well and keeping women lawyers in. And we were not only spreading the message to the converted and women lawyers themselves, but also we brought in the managing partners and we were sending the message directly to them.
And I always think back about the report that the Victorian Law Foundation put out about satisfaction. I love that, and I love Chris's speech about, okay, well, the most dissatisfied group of lawyers is junior female lawyers, and the most satisfied group of lawyers is female partners, because it's the smallest group of lawyers, but they're very happy, those who make it.
Because, golly, we got there.
Do you have any suggestions about what VWL could do in the next couple of years to bring about that sort of change?
I think to keep challenging the status quo that exists in firms and asking why are women not managing to reach senior positions within firms.
I think it's really hard to be a lawyer and be in private practice and be a woman in Victoria.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years' time, Liz? Do you think you'll still be in the law?
I think I will certainly be in the law. I don't know where.
We've been involved in these issues for a number of years through young lawyers and then through women lawyers. And we deliberately adopted that policy of having a convener for 1 year, and then you move on to the immediate past convener, and then you move off the executive, so that there is always a constant line of new people coming through.
We said it cannot be personality driven. It was also one of the reasons for the committee structure. There's more people involved in that, what you were saying earlier, Liz, that the decision making, the having to take responsibility, the lobbying, the coming up with ideas for what's required for research purposes and for events and things.
Because of our funding and because of the number of members that we've actually been able to generate, it's been phenomenal, the amount of work and projects that we've undertaken that have then led to change throughout Australia. And it's wonderful to have been part of an association like that.
For us starting it, we enjoyed. We really had a lot of fun. We met at each other's houses. We met at lunchtimes. It was a passion. We loved it. It wasn't a struggle. It wasn't something hard. It was something we all believed in. It was something we all enjoyed. And we were meeting a lot of other people who cared as much and enjoyed it as much. It was exciting.
The last 10 years mark a magnificent period in Victorian legal history. The women of Victoria in the law have seized the day with the Victorian Women Lawyers. They have achieved so much. They have changed the profession of the law as we know it in Victoria. No longer do women have to fight for the right to practice as lawyers. They are accepted as part of the legal landscape. Victorian women lawyers, stand back and look with pride at what you have achieved.